We want change. We want change. We want change. We want change. We want a change.
The sound magician. Wi-Fi on the beat, boy.
Mukesa tupangira kwemisebo wali mipele nebo tyati mukesa tupangira kwemisebo nimwewo mwatile mukesa tukulira nechipatala ifwe nimwewo mwatile mukesa tukulira na masukulu kuno ukutula potwamisalila ifwe walitula baona lebo imisebo ala yagonaika ichipatala takwaba kuno abana besu basambilila mufimuti fya mango bana mayo mapapila mungande zipatala takwaba kuno imisepila chose malofwa bapepa byebange famalelilo mufunda tawafika nembuto tashafika ukutula potwamisalila ifwe mulitula baona lebo nombalelo mwabwela imwe mulefwa yatumivotele tatwakupele voti ngata wabombae tatwakupele voti ngata wabombae tawalimone voti ngata wabombae tawalimone voti ngata wabombae pantuno mwaka uya bebele twanakanемwe mwachila mobufi kuya bebele akwamwelele numa kuya bebele mwachila mobufi uno mwaka tulefwa yabakutubombela nocha bakwisa kuno mukuzembeleka mukutwibila mano nga twabavotela abaya nangu mwatupele ndalama tulepo kata twamivotele nidonti kubeba lwapoka walya nidonti kubeba lwapoka walya ababina chimwe na mwekole uko bafuma balilaba bayikutapiza balaboko bafuma bayikutapai balabati bakabwela balya chikini nena mabanu inapana kaso wala onalebo mulabeja ukutula potwamisalila ifwe walitula baonalebo nombalelo mabwela imwe mulefwa yatumivotele tatwakupele voti ngata wabombae tatwakupele voti ngata wabombae tawalimone voti ngata wabombae tawalimone voti ngata wabombae pantuno mwaka kuya bebele twanakanемwe mwachila mobufi kuya bebele akwamwelele numa kuya bebele mwachila mobufi pantuno mwaka kuya bebele twanakanемwe mwachila mobufi kuya bebele akwamwelele numa kuya bebele mwachila mobufi pantuno mwaka twanakanемwe.
The sound magician.
Good day and welcome to today's broadcast. Today we're privileged. We are hosting Mlenga Mpundu Kapwepwe. She's a renowned author, renowned writer, playwright, and she's a cultural activist. She's very well known, other than her distinguished services, very well known to be one of the daughters of the late Simon Mwanza Kapwepwe, the freedom fighters. And many people don't know that she's actually a twin to her sister, who's COMESA Secretary General. a 21 member organization across Africa, a trade organization. But Mlenga, in her own right, very distinguished playwright, renowned author. She's even written in local language. We are hosting her today for the second time. We hosted her last year. We just profiled her life and discussed, her work and the work of her father. And today we want to narrow down to what the prospects are politically and how she evaluates our country. That is Mlenga Kapwepwe. She's already in the studio with us. Let me just quickly look for her and bring her on board. Honorable Mlenga Kapwepwe, good to see you and welcome to today's broadcast.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you for the honorable title. I'm not by
Wonderful. I wonder what has kept you busy.
What keeps me busy a lot of the time, I think, is my writing. As you said in my intro, I'm an author, so I write a lot. So I'm currently writing, trying to disentangle, I think, the Bemba monarchy. Trying to go back as far back as possible and try and chronologically arrange the events that have led us to the current Chitimukulu.
I remember before the coronation of Kanyantamanga II, that there was a huge uproar with government differing with the royal establishment over the appointment of the current Chitimukulu. And you have been very central to the history of the Bemba royal establishment. You've written a very famous play that I think many people may not remember, but it used to showcase prior to Ukusefia Pangwena. So what does this book, for example, make us learn, the book you are writing?
I think I'm trying to take an angle where you will, as a reader, be able to see, one, the origins of the Bemba monarchy, also the Bemba monarchy and its government, how that government functioned, who the government officials were, who the members of the monarchy were, how the different districts were created, how the different positions were created, what was the role of the queen mothers, who were the queen mothers. Also, I try and kind of parallel it to eventually when the colonial forces come, not just the colonials, but the missionaries, and how that also impacted the monarchy and the government of the Bemba kingdom, and how, in essence, once the colonial government came into play, the monarchy no longer had the power that it had. The appointments were being made by the white men who had come in. So just the impact of some of the external forces, including the Ngoni Wars, and how that impacted the Bemba monarchy.
In fact, the Ngoni Wars are a fascination because your Mbuyas are having their ceremony, I think, at the month end, the Nkwala ceremony. And one of their leaders, Zwangendaba, died actually on the Mbala Nakonde Road. There's an unmarked graveyard there. It's almost a myth. I visited it when I was permanent secretary for Northern Province. Do you go as far as back as even recording the wars between the Mbembas and the Ngonis, even the death of Zwangendaba?
Yes. Because the coming of the Ngonis it was I think the first time the Bemba kingdom actually met an external force that was so overwhelming, so organized, that you actually see the Bemba chiefs now having to come together and fight together. You know, there were many times when the Bemba chiefs were fighting amongst themselves. But once the Ngoni came, they had to rearrange and start fighting the Ngonis, and that is eventually how they drove them out, because they were kind of taking a piece out of the Chief Makasa's area up there, then they'll take a bite out of, and eventually I think the Bembas realized if we don't come together, we will lose this. So they came together, and that is how they drove the Ngonis out of Luvemba, if you want. For me, it's also just interesting because a lot of the history of the Bemba chiefs is the history of my family as well. So digging into that is also kind of like digging into my own history, because even my great grandmother was actually killed by the Ngonis. So yeah, it was a very big impact. You know, Kasonde, Chitapankwa's sister, you know, she was killed by the Ngonis, and her daughter Chimbabantu was actually kidnapped by the Ngonis, and you know, I think the good thing about all this is that we're now Mbuyas. So the way we resolve conflict is that once you're in conflict with someone who is a formidable foe, or you cannot beat them, then you turn them into your cousin, into your Mbuya, because that is someone that you can actually banter with, you can be sarcastic with, you can be whatever, but they cannot be angry, which is a very good way of conflict resolution. And with us and our Mbuyas, we have actually kept it going as Mbuyas and living in peace for, since the 1800s.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I remember that you as an author, I think, takes from your father. Your father was also a writer. What books, just for our new audience, especially that we are dealing with a new generation that may not know recent history. So I always use the opportunity just to educate them a bit. What books did your father write?
Oh, my father wrote quite a number of books. Shalapochani Chandala, which was a little bit, it was him exploring the experience, which was like the new urban experience then of people going to the copper belt, to the mines. So the whole story is around the new urban experience that people were experiencing when they went to the mines. But in there also there's a thread for the fight, the liberation struggle, especially there's a part there that actually talks about apartheid in South Africa and all that. Actually, that one, I converted it into a musical play, and it was performed on stage in Lusaka, in Kitwe, in Mufulira, and in Chingola. Because, you know, as you're saying, the younger generation have no idea about the literary history of this country. And I thought it was one way of bringing at least one book alive. But my dad also wrote like Utunyongandimi. Utunyongandimi is really for reading to young people. It's one of those that a parent and a child can share together and enjoy it. So it's tongue twisters, Utunyongandimi. So there's a lot of indigenous tongue twisters and poems and stuff like that, which a child and a parent can share. And then there's Ubuntu Jambo Jambo, which is much more on the liberation struggle. And also, I think, based on some of his own experiences of going outside, you know, as an African, going to get an education in a foreign country, falling in love, you know, coming back to become a
Oh, we seem to have a break in transmission there. Okay, I think she should be back. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are hosting Mlenga Kapwepwe, and share the broadcast. It's going to be a momentous broadcast. Share the broadcast. We have Mlenga Kapwepwe in the studio.
Amana anomazuva kumusadza unoyo hakainde wanoyo no ebala musapota here support from Southern Province, but some people they have given up. When I go to Southern Province now, if someone from Southern Province can give up, are you telling me that someone from Osaka and Chingola can still love him? When you yourself who started loving him before these other provinces started loving him, you've given up. Some of them have, like me, have stopped loving him. Me and my family and other people, we've stopped loving him. Now you think if we can give up, I'm also Tonga because when we have Tonga, no Tonga, many Tonga were full time Mdala. But I have given up on supporting Hagainde because of my own reasons. So you think the reasons that the other people have for giving up on supporting Hagainde are not valid, such that the other people from other provinces they cannot buy them. Let us learn to analyze politics. You must realize to say, Mdara, an election can be very disappointing. Ask the people of Kenya. Ask the people of Kenya. The person that won as a president, so let us be very careful as we talk. And let us be exposed. Not to only get the levels of Southern Province, only get the Muenda Mumunzi, Mokala, now Kuri Mumunzogo. And because that village supports Hagainde, you think now everyone else is supporting. That is non-exposure. Let us be exposed. Why is it that people fail to deliver? They fail to deliver when the head is not functioning very well. If the head is not functioning, now training, you can't expect the trailers to start moving. These mayors, these MPs and councillors who are not performing, it's because Hagainde himself is a failure. Let us just face the reality. If Mr. Hijirema was not a failure, he was going, because he is aware that in Mazabuka, because the other time he was talking about roads, particularly about Mazabuka, he is aware that there is nothing going on in Mazabuka and he is quiet. It means that is how the work culture is. It's like Bari now is an entertainer who knows how to speak, entertaining people. No, he just entertains people through his speeches. But when it comes to delivering, he is not there. So we should just accept that fact. So those that are saying, the councillor must go, the Hagainde must continue. Do you know where the money comes from? When we talk about infrastructure development, the money comes from central government. Now they said, CDF, and you see this CDF comes with guidelines. They may release money, and the money that will be released will come with guidelines on how it will be spent. And you can't expect the councillor or an MOP or the mayor to just go against the instructions that will come from the ministry. No, and that ministry receives the instructions directly from the president. So the failures we are seeing now, and even the same money for CDF, there is one mother, Pembi, yes, why, about 2 times, 3 times. And yet they have kept on increasing money. We've increased the money from this figure to another figure, but they don't release
Sorry, I didn't realize I'd muted myself when we went on a short break. I had to cut out my volume. We are hosting Mulenga Kapwepwe. She's a daughter to the late president, vice president, Simon Mwanza Kapwepwe, a huge figure in our history of the country, among the founding fathers with Dr. Kenneth David Kaunda, with Harry Mwanga Nkumbula and others. Mulenga herself is a playwright, she's an author, she's a keen writer, and as she said already on the program, she's writing another book. But she may venture into politics, and she's here. She'll tell us if she's in any way venturing in politics. We are the breaking transmission, and now I can see she's back. Mulenga, what is the state of the country, and why are you considering maybe taking up a political position? What's the state of our country?
I think for me the state of the country is, let me say, distressing. Because in a number of ways we're at a place where we have not been before, and in some cases we've been here before, and both of those scenarios are not pleasant. There are some things that for me are becoming very distressful when I look at what is going on around me. One of the things is just like how much people are, how many hardships people are going through, how difficult life has become for the common man. I live more amongst the people than in the posher areas of Lusaka, so I tend to see that every day, and so that for me is disheartening. I think we should be doing better, and I think we can do better. I believe we can do better. So from just the daily grind and the daily existence of people, I find it rather distressing that we are where we are, and people are struggling, seriously struggling. That's distressing. I think the other thing that distresses me, I think, is just the state of, I always say that we are my generation at least, we are the generation that got the most out of Zambia. We had free education, we had, free up to university. We got the best of what this country could be. And therefore, for me, I can't forget that is a possibility that we should strive for, and that this country should always actually be in that state where, it was well planned. You got out of school, you went into a job, things ran. We had a civil service that was the envy of the entire continent. We had medical services that were being improved year on, every year there's some improvement. My days as a teenager, as a young adult, I think I always say we saw what Zambia could be, the best of what Zambia could be. And for me, I'm saying if it was possible then, why can't we make it possible again? For every Zambian to have the same opportunity to get into university. In those days, there was the rule of equity in terms of opportunity to education was very much in operation. When you applied to university or your results came out, there was a very transparent system that actually managed to select the best and take them to wherever they were supposed to be. Whether they were from Chulubi Island or Shangombo, everybody had the same opportunity. when bursaries came out in the newspaper, you could go to Germany or France or Russia or wherever. It was equal opportunity. Things were put in the newspaper, people applied, people took off from wherever, from Sesheke, and ended up in Russia, because there was equity. You could apply as a Zambian. It didn't matter where you came from. You would be able to get an opportunity to further your education and go anywhere in the world. Nowadays, it's about who you know, who you're connected to, whether you are. It's sad. I think to kill opportunity like that for the masses, for people who are not connected, people who do not know anyone. It means you put them in a position where they'll never be able to climb out of wherever they are. And so for me, things like that, which I think we took for granted in our time, are the things now that I appreciate, that, well, without opportunity of equity, every Zambian must be able to access an opportunity if it is there, is something that I'm hoping that in the next, whoever takes over or whoever rules this country starts thinking about things like that. The only way you uplift people is to give equal opportunity to everyone. Let people strive to be their best or do their best academically in terms of education, so that they can have an opportunity wherever they are. Nowadays, it's really not like that. Again, in my days...
Yeah. Not to cut you short. What do you think went wrong, really? At independence, we were one of the wealthiest countries in the world. In fact, we're far better than Singapore, than South Korea, than China. If you looked at GDP per capita. What went wrong? Here we had a collection of leaders with humble education, but they founded the nation, built schools, hospitals, roads, universities, and established a nation, one of the most urbanized nation, in Southern Africa. But here, generation later, with an educated lot, what went wrong?
I think there are many factors, especially for African states. When I was in South Korea, which was basically at the same, maybe even poorer than us at independence, and I looked around and I thought, wow, we were literally on the same level in 1964, and look at them now. And I asked the gentleman who was hosting us, I said, what did you do that resulted in all this development? Because this is not in my mind, this is not what I see when I look around at home. And he explained how they borrowed money, how they stuck to the terms of that, the conditionalities, and how they paid back that money. And I think it was the focus, the discipline, and being able to plan for the shocks, the shocks of, for example, for us, I think some of the shocks was, the fluctuations in the copper prices and things like that. They were able to plan for those things. They were able to be very committed to achieving what they had set out to do. And some of those, there are many factors that I think affected our trajectory. But I would, as you say, in the first and second national development plans, we actually did achieve a lot. But things started going wrong. Copper prices, conditionalities, we had perhaps overpromised, overreached, and perhaps the planning didn't quite stand up to the reality that we were facing. So we went in a very different trajectory, whereas South Korea went they are at a very different level, very different. But for me, I think the fact that now we have this educated core of people, of leaders, we should be able to regain our place in the sun, if you want, and get this country back on track. I think there's been some, what I see anyway, there's also been a drop, I think, in our standards in terms of the civil service, in terms of our commitment, our discipline, our fiscal discipline, in managing our resources. I always say that a country without imagination actually is a country that will not progress. And there's been a lack of imagination for quite a while, where we have not been thinking outside the box. We haven't been very innovative around how we can manage our resources, what we can do with our resources, because it's useless to have copper and gold and everything else. What makes you rich is how you think about those metals and minerals and resources. It's not that you have them. It's how you think about how do we deploy these resources. And I think we've been failing in how we deploy our resources in a way that actually benefits this country. So some of those, I think, are failures that are historical. Some of them have deepened over the years. And what I'm seeing now, as you said, what I'm worried about now is that now it's literally like government is a place you go to get rich. You go and plunder the resources. You use government as a place where you make money, you wield power so that you can get influence and get more influence and more money, more wealth. We have completely lost the plot in that sense, and which is what worries me.
I was just watching the President Hakainde Hichilema. I was at the mining Indaba Nanyo Indaba that is held in Cape Town. It brings together mine houses, government, policymakers, investors, all in one house. It's one of the biggest Indabas, the mining Indaba in Cape Town. The President was speaking about how Zambia literally has broken record. It has exported 890,000 metric tons of copper, and he says is heading to 1 million metric tons of copper next year. Now, 890,000 metric tons of copper is in excess of $12.5 billion. So who has benefited from that money? First of all, you have a government that has given literally tax holidays, tax incentives, and even to boost up these exports, they had to remove export duty on concentrates, because the policy has been that the mining houses must process their copper in the country at least to a level where you are taking some form of copper than just concentrates, just literally Amalova, as Wasata would call it. So first we are taking away the income that should be earned by value addition for ZRA to tax properly. Concentrates will attract very little money. Then you remove the export duty on it. And even on emeralds, you saw similarly that we removed export tax on emeralds. And someone will become a billionaire this year, and it will not be a Zambian, and it will not be the Zambian government. So tying up to your issue that we have not managed our God-given resources very well. In fact, it's others that have benefited instead of ourselves. I don't know what we will need to do. Let me go to the heart of the matter and cut the butter with a hot knife. In your position, you occupy a very prominent figure in our country. You are part of our staple diet of reading, culture. We've seen you grace various, you sit on many boards. And as political parties look for leaders and leadership, people like you immediately come on the table. Have people approached you? Have certain political parties or leaders approached you? Are you considering venturing out into politics? Will you maybe stand in Chinsari? What are your thoughts around the politics? Because that's the elephant in the room. Let's get it away from it, and we then proceed to discuss.
Yeah. I've had people approach me from every direction. I think offering me, literally positions from president to office orderly. I've had meetings with many who have said, no, we want you to do this, we want you to be this, you want, running mates, president, whatever. And it doesn't matter to me where that approach comes from. I feel humbled that people would even think of me in that light. But I also take it seriously. I take what they're proposing to me to be vice president or whatever, to be running mate. I also take that very seriously because I think in this country we tend to look at the title, I'll be vice president, but we don't consider what comes with that title, the responsibility that that title carries in terms of this country, of how you will serve this country. It's about service, it's not about titles, but I think sometimes we tend to focus on the title. I want to be president, and then you become president and you have no clue what you're doing because you really didn't think about what it is, what it means to be president of a nation, to be the vice president of a nation. It's a huge responsibility and you have to think about it seriously. And so for me, when people ask me that, they seem to be able to offer those positions. But for me, I think I look at whoever is offering me that position, and I also look at, do they understand what they're offering me? Because I understand full well. I think I was fortunate enough to be in the grandstand, if you want, of watching my father be a vice president and what that meant and what it means. It's a serious position because if anything happens to the president, you become the president. So it's something you think about, and let me just put it on record that a lot of the offers have been about running mate, but for me it's still something that I have to think about very deeply, because it is a sacred covenant to say that yes, I will take up this and I will serve the people of Zambia. And when we say serve the people of Zambia, it is about service. It's not about the title. That I'll be, then I'll be the vice president and I'll be this. No, it's about, if I am vice president, what will I do for this country? Because for me, that would be the greatest opportunity to serve this country. So I would have to leave a mark. I would have to serve to the best of my ability. That is something probably maybe 6 years ago I would have just kind of said, yeah, thank you very much, and not really thought about it. But in these days, I am thinking about it deeply because, as I said, I am alarmed and I'm distressed at where this country is going. There's some things that I think we shouldn't be here. We should not be here. We should not be in a place where, even in the UNIP days, when this was a one-party state, even then, it was the party and its government. There was a clear separation between the government and the state. The government is that part of the republic that we as the people of Zambia can change every 5 years, or we can vote. The government is the ministers and the MPs and the president. We have the power to change the government. the state is the part of the republic, which is the army, the police, the judiciary, ECZ, you know, those institutions that actually run the state, the government, that help the government to run the state. Now, what we have, for example, which for me is extremely alarming, is that we have a government that has blurred the lines between the state and the government. And that is not a good place to be, because it means the government has captured the state. Once that happens, then you're in perilous waters. The state is what takes over when the government, you know, in May when they dissolve parliament and all that stuff, it is the state that will take over. It is the permanent secretaries and all those people who will now be running the country. When you mix up the state and the government as the situation is now, and you can blur the lines of state and government by appointing your relatives, appointing your tribesmen, appointing loyalists, you know, appointing, you know, your kith and kin, so that the state is now loyal to the government instead of the state being separate from the government. Because even when the government has been dissolved and the government is supposed to go away, what is left of the state will still be loyal to the government. And when you come to election time and so forth, that even becomes even more perilous, because in the past, once that government was dissolved and it was removed for the elections to take place, then the state stepped back, the elections happened. Once a new government was elected, then the state stepped back and the government then took over running the state, the country. It's a very perilous position to be in, where we don't know where the government starts and where the state begins. It's a perilous position to be in. So that's one of the things that really worries me, because in our days, you know, even in the one-party state, it was the party and its government. The party and its government. Now, you know, you have people from the party answering the state, people in the party answering as though they're the state, and they're answering even diplomats and so forth. There's such a blurred, we don't know where what ends and who's who, you know, in the state and the government. And so that's something that I think we should strive for, to get that distinction, because it's a very important distinction in a republic. Otherwise, the state, the republic itself, becomes extremely weakened. This also leads to things like weaponizing the judiciary, weaponizing parliament, weaponizing all the institutions of state, because the government has captured the state. So those are some of the things that for me worry me and make me think, well, you know, if there ever was a time to get into politics, maybe this is the
very fundamental issue. You know, when this government purged civil servants and packed, some retired them in national interest, others were removed, some seniors were packed at Public Service Management Division and Cabinet Office, I felt very, very sad, because it was clear that the president didn't understand just what you are trying to elaborate. That, first of all, the state is permanent. This is a permanent entity. The civil service is expected to be permanent. In fact, that's why permanent secretaries have that title, permanent. The assumption is that it doesn't matter which group of leaders come in government, that position is supposed to be permanent. And there were colleagues that had served from Dr. Chilua from 20, 30 years ago. And they were just now accused or banded together, who had saved Mwanawasa, who had saved Rupia Banda, who had saved Michael Sata. We are all banded together that they are PF, and they were removed. And like you are saying, there was even no notion, they didn't seem to understand. They thought that you could replace the civil service just with your party members. You just can, tribesmate and others. The current state of the state and government I think may require a huge overhaul, because what was sacrificed at the heart of it is exactly that, the sense of independence. And these were a set of professionals. But now we've infused even political cadres and their permanent secretaries and others. Clearly, a government will require, when, for example, your father served as vice president, how did you see the separation of his office and to that of civil servants? Did he exert power over them? Maybe you can just elaborate, because you seem to understand what the state, what government is, and the difference.
Actually, a very good question, because I remember one day, sometimes my father would work from home, but every time the permanent secretary, his permanent secretary from his ministry, would come home to whatever, discuss issues or whatever, it would be like, oh no, the PS is coming, the PS is coming. It was like a big issue. So one day I sat with him and I said, but Dad, who is this permanent secretary? What is he? And my dad, who was vice president then, my father said, he is my boss. He said, the permanent secretary is my boss. And I said, but you're the vice president, how can he be your boss? He said, no, I am a politician. I can go anytime, I can, be voted out, but he is the boss of government. He is the one who is helping us to implement our ideas. But I regard him as my boss, because he is the one who must run the state. I only am part of the government. And for me, that was, I think, what clarified all this in my head, because I then understood that, oh, okay, so there is a very big difference between the state and the government. But, I worked in government, and by the time I was getting into working in government, I went in with what my father had said, and by the time I was getting there, I could see that things had really changed, and the ministers were acting as though they were the bosses of the permanent secretaries. My father always used to say that the permanent secretary is the best person to advise me on what I should do, because he knows how to run the state. But I could see a lot of, like some of the PSs, sometimes they gave way. No, but the minister has said this, we can't say no. And I'm like, but you're the technocrat. You should be advising the minister, that's your job. And I think we really have lost it. We really have lost it. And I hope, we get back to that place where we have a professional civil service. If you don't have a professional civil service, you are done. You're not going to develop, you're not going to deliver. You can blame everybody else and anything else. But if you don't start from a professional vehicle called the civil service that delivers on whatever policies that whichever government comes into power wants to achieve, you are not going to deliver on those things. We're struggling with CDF, we're struggling with this. What does the civil service look like? Who is in the civil service? Are they capable? Are they qualified to be there? In the olden days, NIPA was, and this is something I think we should go back to. NIPA was established to make sure that the civil servants are kept up to date in terms of their skills of being a civil servant. It was the National Institute for Public Administration. So that when you are in public administration, which basically the civil service is, you are kept up to date, you take exams, you do all these things that keep the civil service on its toes. Now when you go into the civil service, they can't even write a simple note for cabinet, a cab memo, or a note verbal, or what, it's I don't know how we got here, but certainly these are some of the things that I'm thinking, no, we need to go back to what we were, because it's possible to be where we were. And we need an overhaul in terms of the civil service.
Indeed. And for me, like you state, we probably didn't get here in one strike. We got here gradually. We allowed the decay, we allowed the tribalism, we allowed the nepotism, we allowed the wound to fester. And we began to replace merit, we began to replace qualified people, we began to compromise. And now we are where if we do not do anything about this chronic decline, and it may be extremely difficult to get our country out of the depth it has sunk in. The weaknesses have not been one just from President Hakainde Hichilema, but you can trace the weaknesses all throughout from 1964. We began to gradually remove and do this and that, and slowly, like I said, merit was replaced by mediocre. In fact, mediocre is what is now celebrated. If you see the kind of leaders we elect, the mediocre makes it. You, the competent, nice ones, fail to swim in this environment, which brings me to this question. The type and kind and current status of our politics. Are you ready to join the fray? Are you ready to come to the pigsty and fight in the mud?
Yeah, just to go back to the last point, to just say, I think the caderization of the civil service is one of the ills that definitely must be cured before we degenerate into, utter inability to develop our own country. In terms of the getting into the mud, it is a very apt description, because politics is not a clean game. It's a very dirty game, and to me it seems it's even getting dirtier and dirtier, even dangerous, because you express your views and everybody starts calling you, are you sure you're safe? That's sad. I find that really sad, that even expressing an opinion now is something that we must all be frightened of, because now, you must make sure you don't do this, don't do that, don't eat in public places. Now, what kind of country are we living in if you can't even, if an opinion puts your life in danger? That's very sad for me. But it looks like this is the politics that we are now engaged in.
An opinion.
I'm fully aware of the.
An opinion now has new laws, new sets of laws. The cyber crimes and cyber security has even provisioned punitive measures up to life in prison, 25 years in prison. A mere opinion. We've criminalized speech to such an alarming extent that, if you look at the United Nations Human Rights Council report, the special rapporteur that came, because she was in charge of freedom of expression, after all the niceties, her report remains damning. She doesn't believe that, for example, Thomas Ziambo, who wrote an article that ZNS was importing GMO maize from South Africa, should face a case of sedition. Because here is a clear case of abuse. There are some documents. And I think what a proper government should do is to investigate the allegation, not to criminalize. Sedition, you can go in for 25 years. Speech is no longer just speech. It has been criminalized to a large extent, that laws designed to take care of our cyber crimes, cyber security, have been weaponized to criminalize speech. So yes, your speech is just no longer your speech. And so the fear is justified, because now there is a law. When did we ever even get, some of these charges? We last had them in 1985. But now these charges are now fresh. They are now part of our daily debate. So it shows the work that you are expected to engage in when you come into the fray.
We're at a very sad place, I think, in our history, if you want, in our national history, where even the simplest opinion can be taken as hate speech. It can be taken as sedition, and all these things just depend on who complained, where they complained, and no matter what is explained, you will be put behind bars. So it's a very precarious place to be in regard to politics. But sometimes I wonder. I say to myself, if we all sit back and say, well, this is a dirty place to be, I can't risk myself and my life, then who is going to do it? Who is going to fight for this country? And I think for me, when I think like that, because I also think, well, my parents also had to make the same decision. They had children, they had us, but they had to make a choice. Like, we have to fight for the independence of this country, whether they were jailed, whether they, whatever. But they did it because at some point in our lives, there's something that is greater than your own personal comforts, than your own personal, choices. That the greater good, the more people that can benefit, even if you don't go far, even if you don't, do much, but you stepped out and said, let me help where I can. I think for me that's the important thing. And right now for me, I think this country is definitely in need of a new vision, a new direction, other than the one that we're living under.
Thank you very much. Dear viewers, I'm inviting you to make that phone call and ask Mlenga Kapwepwe. We are hosting Mlenga Mpundu Kapwepwe. She's a playwright, she's an author, she's a cultural activist, and she's a public commentator on the welfare of our country. I would like to echo what she has just stated, that if we all keep quiet, who shall then, emancipate our country? And I would like to draw inspiration from Martin Niemöller. This was a German pastor, and he wrote this famous poem. And Mlenga, you love poems, so let me read this to you. First, they came for the communist. I didn't speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialist. I didn't speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionist. I didn't speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews. I didn't speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me. And then there was no one left to speak for me. We are at a place where you think you are not affected until they come for you. Many people, when this journey started in 2022, they thought it just affected people in PF. Every time I just come from Addis Ababa, every time I went to an agent call, either someone had called me that they were being searched in the night, they felt petrified, their families were traumatized, and I rushed there. Or they were being arrested and they had been in the police cell for 3-4 days and people didn't know. Or I went to prison and, I did those broadcasts outside, live broadcast. The comments were, Niba PF, they are just getting what they deserve. This is their medicine. This is what they did to Hakainde Hichilema. But now when I see the number of people that supported President Hakainde Hichilema now condemning him, it reminds me of this Martin Niemöller's poem, because people thought it will not affect them, that it will only affect other people. But now the country is affected. Dear callers, we are hosting Mlenga Kapwepwe. Let me take some of your calls. Mlenga, let's just take a few calls. We hear what our people are saying. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Good evening, Ambassador Mwamba. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Good evening.
I'm good, thank you. It's Dr. Jedediah Ndlovu.
Dr. Njovu, please make your contribution or question.
Yeah, I will actually ask two questions. The first question, I don't know if it would even be a question or a contribution. It's about the generation of people that should have actually taken on from the first generation of leaders, among which definitely the two of you. I would like to actually say that we haven't seen a lot of bridging, you becoming a bridging generation of ideas and concepts of governance and leadership, such as would be emulated in our time as well as be built on. Because remember, development builds up. So we cannot start development right now. Those first generation of leaders that were the freedom fighters started something that should have been developed on, but the people that should have been a bridging generation became so taken up with power, desire for positions, and so on and so forth. Even right now, everything that everybody's looking at is, can you become vice president? Can you become president? Nobody's asking, how can you take the concepts of leadership such as were embodied by the likes of one of my most inspirational leaders that ever existed in our country, President Kapwepwe. Some of the concepts of leadership that he embodied have never been communicated in our country. You don't find them anywhere. Even when you ask the first question, have books been written about that? None. That's the first thing. So I would like to know how you people are going to take responsibility and are going to respond to this and become the bridging people, so that the generations of people that are coming after will be able to have somewhere to build up from. The second one is about cadre deployment policy, which we see didn't just start with UPND, even though it has been exasperated in the UPND regime or government. How do we really put this to a stop? Because most of the problems we are having right now, as it is said, that the major obstruction to development are cultural and political rather than economic and technological, even though we have all these politicians talking about, turning the economy around and technological advancements and the like. We are forgetting that our biggest problems are cultural. And when we talk about cultural problems, we're also talking about, systems of thinking. Look at how an average Zambian thinks, because we are not addressing these issues. Look at how a Zambian votes. We have got educationalists like ourselves that is sitting on the program there. Have we really taken time to look at this and to look also at the political system, and how do we change this system? Because these guys seem to be inheriting a system from wherever, and they are beginning now to even do so much more than what they said they were going to change. Thank you so very much, Ambassador Mwamba.
Thank you, Dr. Njovu. Thank you very much. Let's take other calls. We are hosting Mlenga Kapwepwe, and she wishes to venture into politics. She says, if we don't do it, who will do it? And she has just confirmed that she's had various offers from various political parties offering her as high as president, vice president, and other roles. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Thank you very much, Uncle. You're calling Ambassador. Thank you so much for bringing up this brilliant daughter of the land. One of those people that indeed have stood the test of time and have so much to contribute to the well-being of our country. I want to agree, first of all, with when she speaks about the deteriorating kind of situation in terms of politics in Zambia, democracy and things like that. Indeed, the environment is very toxic. This is what has actually kept people like her, away from the politics. But I thank God for the bravery that she's actually expressed. Indeed, if we do not fight, then who will? Who will? Okay, I encourage her really to take that step and do what she's supposed to do as a daughter of the land. We can't sit back. As Vasata used to say, the educated are the most coward. She'll be the first person to step out and stand her ground as an educated person. That is how we are going to progress as a nation. I quickly just wanted to comment on what I see as politics of retribution. I just saw in the paper where this ECO's son, the former president's son's property have been, I actually call it grabbed from him. And I've seen a lot of people actually clapping and rejoicing. I failed to understand one of the things, and this is one thing that we need to change as Zambians. Zambians should not celebrate the downfall of anyone. We have a right to progress, invest and progress. Zambia should not be a country for foreigners to make it. Any Zambian should have the right to invest and build their financial muscle without fearing to say, this I'll be pounced because I belong to political this and this. For me, the government may do what they've done, and I think they've won. That is not actually a win. That is actually a downfall, because whatever that man was doing contributed to the economy. The money was actually flowing in the economy. There were people that depended on him. So it shouldn't be something that we need to celebrate as a people. It should be something that should worry us. Zambia should not just have one person rich. We should have everyone, as long as they have the capacity, they should be able to make it. Those are the politics we want, not politics that are intended to target those that do not agree with you. You grab property and say, no, this is what we've done. The ZBC is publishing and everything is happening that way. That is not the country we need. And thank God that we still have mothers of the country that are willing to step up and really do this. My call to her is let her be strong, let us be brave, and let her take this step and let us move as a country. She has our support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dear callers, please make your call now. Let's take a few calls before I revert to Honorable Mulenga Kapwepwe to answer your questions. Let me take a few calls. Let me just take a few calls. Today we are hosting Mulenga Kapwepwe. If you haven't read any of our books, because there is a poor reading culture that has emerged in the country, and I don't know what we are going to do about it. Mulenga should answer that. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. How if you know more Bombeni? Thank you very much.
Yeah, my question is going direct to Ms. Kapwepwe. Therefore, because she commented so much on this narrative of employing ama political party supporters, amakatazai. And this thing has grown so much. Ukwambira ke time yaba MMG, it's a time yaba UPND. So now, my question is, how can we stop this? Because those bad cadres, Marasanga, some Barasta contribute in via during time yama campaign. So now, Navena Baresa Mukukrema. Then there is also this corporate political party cadres. Are there some mediation? So once you Mwamba, if you are contesting as a presidential candidate, Ngamwa winner, those people they will come on your neck, no Kurando Kwewati. Can you give us now, Naikoko, Tetuale Kwakwa? So how can we stop that? I want her to comment on that. Then the other thing is, Bushe, the opposition, Bala to Akwashani, because echo tutangirwemo bamwamba pali nomba muno mu Zambia nakibipisha ngefya bakirando kwe bati bonse nomba nakitukuma kikumi nepyo wonse aba votere n'abasha votere abale supporta UPND n'abashale supporta nomba ba opposition ngatabaise pamu twala kutuka shani twala rugurwa shani bantu ocho tulepitamo mchalo cha Zambia tachiri gwino bamwamba. I think ni pote state ali balanga kwako kwa ayame kushona ikishara.
That's a very fundamental question, and Mlenga should be able to answer it. Opposition unity, because in their fragmented state, clearly they will not win this election. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from. Mr. Banda from Petauke, kindly speak louder.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Madam Kapwepwe.
Yes, she can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay, thank you very much. I want to stress the point that she mentioned, the point of saying, if we can't do it, then who is going to do it? I think it's a very, very important point that the disaster or the prejudice or the tyrant leadership that we have in the country right now, it calls upon everyone, all sections, educated or not, farmers, everyone has to be involved for this problem to go. You see, it's even very embarrassing, Ambassador Mwamba, Your Excellency. It's very disheartening, like Madam Kapapa said. We are debating about the house that has been constructed from Dariso this afternoon. You see, an ordinary house where even someone who sells very simple things, who sells the Chinese products and so on, they've got better houses than that one. But surely, you classify that house as a proceeds of crime, an adult son of the former president cannot have such an ordinary house in this country. And we are talking about a father who is lying dead, and ECO himself is on record to have said, I gave my children and my wife those things that were claiming that they have stolen. So you can publish my bank statements that shows my monuments, allowances, and so on. Then we compare with what my children and my wife have. This government ignored and continued to persecute me. And worse enough, even when he has died, and they still want his body to come, they preside over his body. The person that they're classifying a thief indirect through the children. I've never seen such disheartedness. I've never seen such hard-heartedness ever since I've lived on earth. At least I'm graced to be for more than 45 years old. I've never seen such kind of bad-heartedness. I've never seen that on Ambassador Mwamba.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Let me just take two more calls. Let me take two more calls. There are so many calls as you can hear in the background. Let me just take.
She's a well-reserved woman, very composed, while speaking very, 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 very good points. and very strong points.
Thank you, thank you. Sorry, I have to cut him. Let me just take some more calls because as you can hear in the background, there are more calls that are coming in. Caller, please call so that we take as many calls as possible. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and kindly be brief.
Okay, thank you. It's Daniel from Cape Town.
Daniel, make your contributions.
Yes, I would like to just add on what Madam Kapwepe said, saying Zambians, I think we don't have an imagination of where we want to be. And it's true that that imagination is what brings a country forward. It's what takes the country forward. But in Zambia, we live for that moment where if you prosecute the first family, you will be popular and people will follow you over a house. That in Zambia, a block and cement, a block is 10 kwacha and cement is 170. Honestly, a son of a president, even if it's lacking, can lack to have a 10 kwacha to buy a block and 170. So my question and lastly is, what imagination has Madam Kapwepe got for Zambia that we must stop thinking employing 30,000 teachers when you are doing good to the Zambians, not knowing that you are straining the budget, or just arresting people is an achievement? What is imagination for Zambia if she had to become president? Thank you very much.
Oh, that's a direct question. What's your vision if you were to become president? There's this persistent call. Let's see if the caller can quickly call. Caller, call. I don't want to leave you behind. As we are speaking about professionalism of civil service, I want you to, Mlenga, I want you to watch this video after first. Let me first take this to caller. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Thank you, Ambassador Mwamba Dani.
Yes, Mr. Dani.
I just have a question for Madam Kapwepe. I've liked what she said and everything, but my question to her is, you know, it looks like our system is broken, starting from the civil service and the way we operate government. What can we do to change the narrative of how we operate as a country so that it can benefit the all Zambians? Because what I've looked at and from what she's been saying, civil servants has been manipulated with cadres. Even the running of governance is all about cadreism. But what can we do? And then on the purpose of unity, Rakapwepwe, ushena mkwate nshite ya kulanda na abantu omunga sala tusoke bane 10 tumfane 1 2 3 10 tuombele chapa so that we change who's going to lead our country in the 2026 election. Because if you think enough, you're like, but are we just going to continue talking without having a solution? Thank you, Ambassador Mwamba. God bless you. And thank you, Madam Kapwepe. God bless you too.
Thank you very much. I'll take the last call, then I'll play the video. Yeah. Hello, caller. You are our last caller. Ask your question or contribution to Honorable Mlenga Kapwepe.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Is it afternoon where you are?
Yes. It's morning.
Right, okay. I think I've got to agree with it's oh, by the way, it's Joe here from Kumkushin.
Okay, make your contribution.
Yeah. I've got to agree with my sister, especially when she speaks about permanent secretaries and stuff like that. But Mwamba, I have been against permanent secretaries being appointed for 27 years. You've been to the UK, Mwamba, and you know Whitehall is where you find civil servants. They are independent. You will get people there who have worked 27 years, 28 years, because they're not politically appointed. What do we get? Every time government changes, right, you get permanent secretaries being appointed. It's reason we've got, we've got people like Pilato as a permanent secretary. No, the boy is not even supposed to be getting anywhere near position of permanent secretary. I think this is where we've lost it. But yeah, my sister Lenga, you're bang on the money, and I support you. Chisma Pamwamba.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Here is our last caller. Caller, please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
My name is Nancy, calling from Zambia.
Make your contributions, Nancy from Zambia.
Okay, I'm just making a comment. I don't have any question for Ms. Kapwepwe. I just want to agree with what she said that, we need a professional civil service, and regardless of what changes happen politically, the civil service must be respected, and let's have the experienced people there who know the systems and who know how government is supposed to work, function, so that there's sanity and the correct things are done. And also her point that being offered a position, while a good thing, we must also always remember that what do I have to offer? It's not just about having the title, because we have seen what has happened. It's like somebody really just wanted to hold a certain office, but what do they have planned for the country? They are failing to put things in order, failing to improve things. So people should not be so focused on titles. So some people who are now fighting in the opposition who just want to be the ones to lead and everything, they may just want to have the title, but what really are they offering? So people who are being approached for leadership, or those who are considering leadership, have to think about that. What really do I have to offer? What plan do I have? Is it something that can be done? Is it realistic? Many of these people are exposed, they travel, they see all the beautiful things in other countries, but what is stopping us from implementing these things here and transforming our own country? All we want to do is sit and talk about how beautiful this country is, how beautiful that country is, but why can't we bring that here? Why can't we bring our experience here to transform our country? So I wish you all the best, Ms. Kapwepwe. I think you would contribute well in the political sphere of Zambia, and people like you who were raised during the time of the first government, you saw how your parents were working then. You have something to offer, to bring to us, to bring sanity and order to our country. Thank you so much, and all the best in your political pursuits.
Thank you. That was our last caller. Before I bring in Mulenga Kapwepwe, I want you to listen to this, exactly what we are talking about. Here's a district commissioner from Isoka is hosting the permanent secretary, and he rose to clarify something. Just listen to this exchange before I bring in Mulenga Kapwepwe.
I think most of you are avoiding to talk about it. In Isoka here, maybe we're not aware. It has been political. In such a way that it somehow belongs to certain individuals that are untouchable in Isoka.
Can't you bring that in your closing remarks? You'll be given time to talk about it, because this time we're talking about questions.
I think it's important, sir, so that people are aware, they understand exactly.
You'll come to that. Let's just follow the pace and flow of communication. I know that is a governing statement you want to bring.
I'm the one who's on.
But I'm the chair.
I'm trying to respond.
Please sit down. I'm saying I'm a chair. There is no question that has directly come to me.
I'm not answering any questions, sir.
Yeah, but why are you addressing us? Because it's only me who should address you. Unless you are given time to speak.
I'm bringing something on the floor.
Are we arguing?
Isoka.
Are we arguing?
No.
Sit down. Sit down, sir. No problem. You'll lose
Sir,
nothing.
You've been coming here, people are raising questions of stolen fertilizer.
No, they haven't. No one has raised that
No,
question.
you came. Previously, you were in Isoka here. Placards were being raised. They are being raised that is this
we are
fertilizer.
going to confuse everything there. If at all you want to declare interest, leave and be there. I want to interact with these people. I don't want any confusion.
Can this interaction also be known to the people as well?
That way, see what it is, DC. When you know that in this kind of arrangement, people they are there, in leadership, we declare interest. Because I'm the senior leader addressing this matter, I cannot appreciate people to be addressed in that way.
I feel in Isoka, the district commissioner is not protected. I feel I'm being belittled.
We should not be debating before this. Let's do this.
I've been appointed to be in the office
Let's do
on
this,
behalf of the president.
Let's do this, DC. If you can maybe take a seat. We are all appointed by the president. Myself, I'm even sworn in by the president.
Why should I have such kind of disrespect that I'm able to see?
No, the people are wrong. We are going to speak to that, if at all. Anyone who is accusing the DCA?
Sir, you came, they were raising placards that this is stolen. You saw even this.
But you would have addressed that issue. Myself, I've come at a different platform here. This is a different platform and instruction. You would have sorted out this matter with your people earlier before I came.
So they have been raising these issues to you. I even saw them the other day. They were at your office there. The very people that are coming that are disturbing us.
No, the agenda was not about you. It was a different agenda.
The very people that are complaining, they are wrong people. That's the issue that I'm raising here.
But I feel disrespected with that kind of conduct. I feel disrespected.
Sir,
Thank you, Mulenga. Let me bring you on the trouble with the current public service. There you see a tiff because the district commissioner has a grievance, but is appointed by the president. The PS is appointed by the president. Although there is a hierarchy of senior and junior, you can see the clash there, but it goes to what we were talking about. Just answer any of the questions that you felt you could answer our callers, then we come and conclude.
Okay, thank you. So as I was saying, I think we're now a full-blown kakistocracy. A kakistocracy is a government where appointments are not made on merit but on connections and nepotism and all that kind of stuff. I think that's where we are right now. We are a full-blown kakistocracy. And when you see that people are not actually appointed on merit for their competence, for their qualifications, those are the kind of things that you start seeing, because even the the relationship between the positions becomes unclear, because I'm appointed by this one, you are appointed by, it's a very sad place to be, and that's where we are. I think someone asked at the beginning about my generation having not created a bridge in terms of the leadership. I think we've had a very strange history, if you want, because if you must remember that 7 years of this country, we were led by one party and one government, and therefore there wasn't that much opportunity for people to to get in and out of leadership and compete and do all that kind of stuff. So in that setting, unlike now when you can actually see all sorts of people jumping into the political arena, it wasn't possible that time. But after 1991, it became possible that we can now all start participating in politics in a much freer way. So for me, I guess one of the reasons why I would get into politics is, for me, I take my responsibility as a senior citizen seriously, and that one of my duties is to pass on something to the next generation. And if leadership is the only thing that I have to give to the younger generation, then it would be a privilege to do that. But certainly we've had a checkered history when it comes to leadership and how the leadership pool and talent has been able to evolve in this country. The second thing I wanted to answer was I think somebody went into the cadreization of the civil service, and of course I think I've talked about that we're now a kakistocracy, a government that is not based on merits. It is based on who you know, who you are related to, who you are rewarding. The reward system, I contributed, so I want a position, so I get a position. I have no qualifications, I have no capacity, but I gave you money, therefore I have a stake, and you have to pay me back. This is, I think, a place where, as I said, it is entirely up to us as Zambians to say, how are we going to stop this? Because I think the civil service must become a meritocracy. It must be based on merit. Otherwise, we're really just destroying ourselves. And so it is up to us to make the laws, to make the statutes that say, when you're entering the civil service, this must be the qualifications. This must be, you must pass this test, you must pass this before you enter the civil service. In other countries, entering the civil service, people sweat. You get through exams, you do all sorts of things, because they know that the civil service is the engine of the country. So it is entirely up to us also to formulate those rules that will help us to create a civil service that is actually professional and functioning. Otherwise, we're going to be beholden to those people who will say, no, but I contributed, I want a position, when they're not qualified to do anything. If I, as a politician, can then say, the law does not permit me, if you want to be in the civil service, please go and sit for the civil service exam. Then we can take it from there, because you'll be qualified to go up the ladder of the civil service. If you can't qualify, if you know that you are not even qualified to be in the civil service, it should not be an automatic. I think we should all be then subject to the rules that the country can set up and say, if you want to get into the civil service, because that is the heart of the country. Someone talked about the politics of retribution. I think that's a sad place that we're at. I think we have witnessed this ruling by vengeance and ruling by retribution at a scale we haven't seen it before. I haven't seen the judgment of the Dalisolungu judgment. I haven't seen that, so I cannot comment. But I do know that an appeal is being filed. I think in order to appeal the judgment. And let me also say again, this is another area that I think probably, if things change, can also be relooked at. I think this the proceeds of crime type, this law that is in place, is literally a shortcut for government to just accuse someone and apprehend or forfeit your property. The whole investigative burden, which is supposed to be on the government to prove without any doubt that this is what you did, is kind of circumvented. I think someone said this law is operates like shishita. If the police catch you doing shishita, they just get you and put you behind bars. What you were doing there, why you are there, does not matter. They have the power to just put you behind bars because they caught you doing shishita. So this law is very much like a shishita type law, where people are really just, the burden of proof should be on the government, but now it's literally like if the government accuses you, you can forfeit your property. I think we have to relook at this law. It's not working in the best way that I think we wanted it to work, in the sense of recovering whatever we thought had been stolen from the state or had been procured through crime. I think it's a shortcut. I think it's a shishita law that really just gives the power to the government to really do what they want to a citizen without having the burden of proof to prove that this is how I got this, or it's a shortcut. So these are some of the things that for me we'll certainly have to relook and say, is this law actually doing what it's supposed to, what it was designed to do, or are we actually now circumventing things that government should actually take the responsibility to do? So for me, that's that part. But the politics of retribution, I think, is something, as the caller said, it is something that should worry us.
Let me just enhance exactly what you've said. The Forfeiture of Proceeds of Crime Act of 2010. I remember when it was being enacted that I spoke and wrote an article around it in 2010, because I had the benefit, I was working for former President Frederick Chiluba, who was targeted, with these state seizures and asset seizures. The biggest weakness in that law is that it overturned the responsibility to prove a case from the state. It shifted it to the person that was being suspected. In the past, the state needed to obtain a criminal conviction before they can seize your asset. Now they don't need to. It has shifted. It's just in the mind of the investigator, the SEC. If they think that your car is expensive, in the mind of the investigator, they don't have to prove it anywhere. Then you have to struggle to prove how you bought that car. And if you fail, again in their discretion, if you fail, they just seize it. And even in the courts of law, because the burden has been shifted from the state. In the past, they needed to obtain a conviction. I know that there has been a recent ruling in the Court of Appeal, but I think government has ignored it. And other lower courts have even commented about a matter in the higher court, disregarding that ruling in the higher court. Because the Court of Appeal stated, I think it is in Chitotela's case or any other case, I can't remember, that you cannot seize these assets without basing them on the conviction and also without tracing where the money has been stolen. When you look at the case of Bowman Lusambo, it's also another very funny case. He held the office as minister on the Copper Belt and in Lusaka. There is no audit anywhere to demonstrate that Lusambo abused his office or stole money from those offices. But he's been convicted for the wealth he received. No one has traced where it was stolen from. With this law, they just have to suspect that the money is from proceeds of crime. They don't have to establish an audit or a crime, but the suspicion alone can make you forfeit those assets if in their view you haven't proved it. So that, in my view, would require these lawyers to take up the matter and challenge this. It also, I think, infringes on fundamental right to ownership. But continue. I thought I could just contribute briefly to that.
Even going back to that, to the poem that you read, sometimes you think it's somebody else is happening to and you're clapping. But if the law is unfair, it will also come for you. So we should all be interested in seeing how we better refine this law so that it's actually serving the purpose that it was supposed to. And I would encourage especially the present government, because many of them will not be able to account for the wealth that they have accumulated in these past 4 years. They won't. And this law will come for them. So it is even also in their interest to start looking at this law and saying, is this law serving the purpose it was supposed to? Because, as you said, we've lost the plot here. Somebody else can determine that you're guilty. You forfeit all your property, and that is it. You must forfeit on conviction, not on speculation or simply because I suspect that you got something and it must have been proceeds of crime. We must be able to relook at this law and see how we best refine it so that it's actually serving the purpose of, if they are things that are being obtained through crime, how do we actually get to the fact that this was done like that, and therefore convict and then get those proceeds of crime. So just to say thank you for that addition, because this is something that people are laughing at now, but which will come for them if they're not careful. It's a matter of time. Somebody else asked, what can we do to change the narrative of this country? I think as people can see, the narrative of a country can shift very quickly. I think in the past 4 years, the narrative of this country has shifted sometimes, I think, to a place that recognized, because words like hatred and hate speech, and they've now become part of the lexicon, which is sad. If you get something through, then it's because you hate me. Why are we putting it in the lexicon of social discourse? Why? we're making our narrative such a toxic one. You know, I didn't grow up in a Zambia where I had to keep answering the question of also which part of Zambia are you from, or what tribe is that person. No, I didn't grow up in a Zambia like that. And that is, for me, I would rather go back to the Zambia I grew up in, where I didn't care where anybody came from. I still don't. But it's literally like now you're forced to be conscious of where you're from, where are you, whatever. Our tribes are our best asset as Zambia. It's a resource we can tap into because our tribes are us. But we must not make our tribes the basis of our division. That doesn't make sense to me. For me, the tribe is a source of pride. Our tribes are a source of unity, pride, and identity. They are not and should never be a source of division. That's a narrative we must change, and change very quickly, because we should not be going down that road as a nation. I think the narrative, another narrative that must change, of course, as I said, what is public service? If I want to go into public service, what am I going to do there? Is it to enrich myself or to serve the public, as in the word? That narrative, how we perceive our own contribution, it doesn't matter whether you're actually in public service or in private service, how we see our own contribution to this country must be a narrative that must become very strong in everybody's mind. You know, when you go to countries like Cuba, even a person who's just sweeping the floor will do it to the best of their ability because they are doing it for the country. For us, that is gone. It's now me first, then Zambia after that, which is very sad. We shouldn't be there. So there are a number of narratives that I can think of that we must change as quickly as possible, because the current narratives that you see now, that you hear, that are being fed to us, for me are on the large part pretty toxic. You know, you might I think for the young people, they might not have known that there was once upon a time a Ministry of National Guidance, you know, literally to guide the conversation of the nation. How are we thinking? How are we seeing? How are we holding ourselves up as Zambians? How do we treat each other? And sometimes it's important to have that voice saying, where are we as a nation? What are we doing? Who are we? How do we serve this country? How do we serve even in our jobs? How do we serve as mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters? That conversation in the First Republic went down that far, that it was so granular. So there has to be a change in narrative of what is a Zambian? Who am I? Who am I in relationship to my country? How do I serve my country? It doesn't matter in what capacity. We are all serving this country. So there are many narratives that I can think of that we can change. The other thing, so what is my vision? I think my vision is a united Zambia. I think if you take the time to just read the national anthem instead of sing it, you will understand the vision, the vision that the founding fathers had for this country. A land of work and joy and unity. And let me just say, you know, when you talk about a land of work, you know, work, labor, the labor of this country, you know, there's so much unemployment now. When I was growing up, and this is something that I would really want to institute if I ever had the power to. When I was growing up, the government managed the labor, you know, the labor, the stock, the skill stock of the country. The government knew at any one time what the skill stock of this country was. They did the surveys. They did the CSO did their census, but the government knew the skill stock of the country. The government, industry, and tertiary and primary schools and secondary schools were all talking together to see what labor do we need, what are the new trends, who do we need to train, what skills are missing in the country that we need to train, which industry lacks what, how are we going to fill that gap? And they would talk to the universities. Universities, please concentrate on engineering, on agriculture, on whatever, because there are skills gap in these areas. In that way also, when people graduate from wherever they've gone to train, whether it's agriculture or engineering, whatever, there are actually jobs waiting for them. Now you have this, I don't know, chintobe of people just go to university, people come out, people don't know whether they have a job or not. We are not even managing the labor force, our skill stock as a country. We have no clue where that is, where we stand with that. It's, I find that is a gap that we need to start managing seriously if we're going to address unemployment. Job creation is not, as someone mentioned, it's not employing 33,000 people in government. You're just stressing the treasury. And unless those 33,000 jobs have actually been identified as a gap and a need in government, don't do it. Don't do it because it will make you popular. Do those things because you have identified the gap. These skills are not there and we need to do it. And then plan. Plan how you do it without stressing the treasury. But we've now, I don't know how many people we've employed. It doesn't, things must be thought out and planned. And I think that is the worry that I have for this country. It's some of the things that have been done are so populist that there has been no planning. You know, I went to a school the other day, free education. I was asking the teacher, why are these chairs here? There was a row of plastic chairs at the back of the classroom. And he said, oh no, it's because the other children have to sit outside. They learn through the window. And in fact, from grade 1 up to grade 4, we've taken the desks out of the classrooms because the children sit on the floor because there's too many children. I said, so what is the ratio of a textbook to a child? He said, it's 10 children to 1 textbook. And then we hear, oh yeah, the pass mark has gone up by what? How? That's magical thinking. We have to, one, there must be standards in education because that is the only way you support your citizens. You support their opportunities to advance in life. If we can't have quality education from grade 1 to university, we are doing a disservice to the children of this country and to the future of this country. You know, in my days when people were said, oh, the inspector of schools is coming, it was a big issue because that inspector of schools had to inspect every school to make sure the standards were as agreed and they were kept at a high level. In my days, you graduated from University of Zambia, you went straight to Harvard, no problem, because the standards were so high. And you know, in Norway, I think their policy is that any child who comes out of a Norwegian school must be able to go and qualify in any institution anywhere in the world. That's the vision we should be having for our children, not quantity over quality. It doesn't make sense. We are depriving them of an opportunity to advance as far as possible in their lives. So for me, there's just some things that are so worrying because I have seen the importance of these things and how they can push a country forward. And we're going backwards and we're celebrating going backwards and saying, yes, we're doing something. No, in some of these things, we're actually failing our children. If we're lowering pass marks so that we can have a bigger, so many more children have passed, we are doing a disservice to those children. We are. So I think there was another question, who is going to lead? I certainly hope that this will be resolved forthwith, as soon as possible, because the Zambian people deserve a choice. They deserve to be able to choose who they want to lead them. And the democracy we have adopted is such that you know, people come forward and say, I want to lead, whatever. May the best person lead in terms of the opposition. But I plead with the opposition, and I'm pleading with the opposition to set aside their egos and ambitions and everything else and say, let's sit together and let's vet ourselves self-vetting. Am I really up for this? Can I do all this? Do I have the capacity? Whatever. Vet yourself and say, no, I think here, let me step aside, or here, let me step aside. Let us come to the point where we are saying, there are these selfless people who have said, I'm okay. Somebody else can lead. Somebody else can lead. But the eye is on the ball. This is what we want to achieve, and let's all work towards that end goal. So I'm hoping that opposition will sort themselves out quickly, and they will choose a leader, and will give the Zambian people an opportunity. This is a democracy, an opportunity to lead. And let me just say to the Zambian people also, please, you have an opportunity to go to the hearing for ECZ. There are things that we must address in the new rules that are being proposed by the ECZ, and I hope the Zambians will turn out in numbers and address some of those issues, because otherwise it will be yet another one of those little pieces that we're losing out of our democracy, where we're slowly seeing things, so many things diminish. Oh, there's no opposition. Oh, now you can't stand if you can't be standing. You can't stand if your party didn't adopt you. You can't stand as an independent. That's not democracy. But we're losing bits and pieces of our democracy, and we're sitting here. I'm hoping that people will actually turn up and get to talk to the ECZ and say, this is not this. It can go ahead. We have to protect our democracy. It's our democracy, and we should be ready to protect it. So I'm hoping that people will turn out. Yeah, well, I think that those are some of the questions I think that people actually did ask.
Yeah, let me ask
so a little bit about the. Because text messages, all those things, all that is reading. It's based on reading, and people read. And let me just say that as an author, I really have nothing to complain about, because Zambians buy my books, so I presume they are reading them. I hope they don't buy them to go and make firewood. I hope they're reading them. But people do read, and we do read. Sometimes it's about how we package the thing that we've written, and so forth. So yes, we do read. We do have a reading culture, but sometimes it's what is available for us to read that is also something we have to look at.
Yeah, I think that's a very fundamental issue of how the books should be packaged, because you're right. People can stay the whole day on social media watching those reels and videos. So imagine if the books were also in that format. People may no longer read the actual book, but they can listen to audio books where they can just, as they are doing their chores and everything, they can listen. So it's maybe you are right. It's about how we are packaging it so that attention can be received. You've highlighted the issue of the Electoral Process Act, the Electoral Process Bill. It has raised fundamental issues. I'm personally very concerned, because it's an attempt to bar candidates. First, the adoption certificate must be signed by the Secretary General, who is registered with the Registrar of Societies. In the past, it just used to be blanket, whoever the party has authorized to sign. So whether it's a district secretary in the province or at constituency level, or it's a Secretary General, it is whoever the party had authorized. But in this case, they are insisting that whether you are standing as president or councillor, the Secretary General is the one to sign that adoption certificate. Imagine if they compromise that Secretary General a week before elections. And imagine, because the Registrar of Societies, the Chief Registrar herself must sit with a commission to approve even the changes. And maybe they sit once in a quarter, You might just be disenfranchised by that technicality. Our people must pay attention to some of these little issues. In fact, I've raised an issue that the current ECZ, in its current format, is not able to deliver a free, fair, democratic and credible elections for our country. That's a matter for another day. But on the issue of unity, I hosted a few weeks ago, Chisangaputa Chekwe. He's a lawyer, you know, he's one of the few Zambians that have held an office of deputy minister in Ontario, Canada, and he's an author like you. But he said our country is broken, our institutions are broken. The state of our country is so broken. And he wondered if the opposition do recognize the magnitude of work that lie ahead. In fact, people are being pedestrian about the next president. We are at a verge where, as a country, we needed to be more careful of who even becomes president because of the work that lie ahead to literally restore, rebuild, and rehabilitate our country. So I also stand with you when you plead with the opposition. But I brought that dimension that, like, is what is escaping our people, especially most of our leaders, is the amount of work that lie ahead. They think because Ichilema is unpopular, I have an opportunity to win an election, even without a program. And that's where the problem is. Professor Kasonso says we are so angry with UPND that nanguinshonko no tukaivotela. Now, although that's hilarious, but that presents a big problem. Because again, 5 years after, we'll be where we are now. We'll still be crying that you have a government that hasn't done anything. Mlenga, give me your last remarks.
About what you have just said. You know, the task that will face any government that takes over from this government is enormous. It's enormous. There are so many broken pieces right now that you'll have to fix the economy, you'll have to fix the spirit of the people of Zambia. You have to fix the unity. You have to fix the way we have been doing things in the past 4 years, where you're saying, can we be clear? Can we have clear policies, clear goals, you know, so that the country actually starts some order, you know, in the country. I don't know, I worked a lot in the realm of policy, so I'm very conscious of the fact that what policy is guiding what the president is saying, for example. Sometimes I have no idea what the policy is. I have not heard that this policy has been formulated. They're just pronouncements. You know, suffice it to say that literally every aspect of this country will have to be fixed. You literally have to, and I hope whoever is coming into power knows that they have to have a Marshall Plan to rescue this country, because there are so many aspects of the country that have gone wrong that you must have a Marshall Plan. You know, a friend of mine was part of the Obama team when they were coming into office, and the way that things were done to prepare for the takeover of from the Republican government was literally like creating an army and saying, how are we going to do what policies? You take the policies, pass them to the budget people test them, they bring them back and say, no, this policy won't work because of ABCD. What about this fiscal policy? No, that won't work because this is where we are, Zambia. You'll have to have a team that can stress test everything that you want to put in place before you even come into government, so that you understand exactly what you will do, because we do not have the time to waste when someone comes into power to start thinking, okay, so now what do we do now? Which I think maybe is what happened this time around. But the government that comes into place, and I hope the Zambian people will ask these questions, what is the plan? How do you land on your feet and start running as a government? Because you've got the things in place and you will start from day one. And that is the task that lies ahead for anyone who's coming into government. They must have literally a Marshall Plan, how they are going to put this country back on its feet, how they make this country move forward. And I hope the Zambian people will ask, even if it's the Shonkonono must have a plan. that the people must say, this is something that we can buy into. These people know where they're going and they'll be able to do it. I am not a believer in the magical thinking and just saying, yes, we'll do this and us, we're going to. How? That is what being in the policy field teaches you. Any decision that you make, you have to ask those questions. How? When? If? Who? What resources? You have to ask those questions. And so I hope whoever is lining up has a plan. That is what is required for us to move forward. That is what will take this country from what we are now to something that might change. You know, when Obama came into power, he inherited a really, it was a precarious economic situation and so forth. But because they came with a full package, it was planned, they landed on their feet and started executing. And that situation turned over quicker than many people had thought. They thought it would take much more time, but it didn't, because they had a plan. So I hope we're not just all wanting to be presidents and whatever it is, but we actually have a plan. That is what will save this country.
Yeah, but with the emotional nature in which we do our politics, you know, in 1991 we were so angry with Kaunda that we just voted in this set of people and forgot to ask the questions. You know, by 2001 we were back again with the same anger. We nearly voted out the MMD, but they survived. 2011 we were so angry with Rupiah Banda and the MMD, voted them out, brought in. In 2021 we were so angry with the PF, just voted them out. Here we are back in 2026. We are so angry with the UPND that people may again just say, who's Nana di Kuntanshi, and they just vote them in again without asking so much questions. I think we have a lot to do, including ensuring that we have an educated population, that we have people that are employed, because also when people are desperate, they have no jobs, they're unemployed, the desperation levels are so high they can be used or abused, and we keep on getting stuck in a cyclical cycle that that doesn't emancipate our country. So Mlenga, I would like to thank you very much for this great opportunity. People are still calling and calling, but okay, let me just take this because this one is some loyal caller. Let's just hear what his contribution is, and you can then wrap up your Wamunkonge, not Twisala, but make your contributions quickly so that I can let Honorable Mlenga Kapwepwe to.
Bati bamayo kubalandire nevinangona umfa mukurekerera fyonse vivyo bwino barona ali bachetekera sana kwamba finero bali barakura sana n'abantu ab'ekibekibe nombanje ko kwipshako mweba fyashi mashi wiki mwingalanda ko pali ukwatatu kwete bantu pali ukwatatu bakwata pamulando wa chiriro kali na mone finfya wali bako ili achiri ali bakoti oro ageni wataba ukuka umukashana inchito nomba pa kulina mbatu nomu mendo na wana bamukuka ya ombero kutira kuba fyashi ero chimbi nale before tafira fika pa nale ipusha baba ne chidiro takwa befya kwa batama mina ndushire shaba kupoti bashifunyako pantu kwale balimbina umfa pa news ato n'abasitaji jano murani wabamayo meaning bamayo bamukamupira ushe masho winga tukosere shako kweba shako atapo bwishiro pamurandi wako titakwa kufunyako emirandu mpaka wabamu chiriro chapwa oro emirandu bambo bariko kushikunda kukoti because ndamona barashikunda n'abamayo masho winga tukosere shako pafya chitikira abafyashi besu ba Esther na family.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Bab. Thank you very much, Wamunkonge. Thank you. Thank you very much, Wamunkonge. In your last remarks, I think there's an issue. You tackled this particular matter, but the family of the late president, has received a lot of sympathy, other than that we still haven't put to rest the late president. We saw government actually move in ensuring that Tasila Lungwansa's seat in Chawama was nullified on flimsy ground, that seat taken away. And the forfeiture of the property of the brother, like you said, you have not read the judgment. But, it falls into that pattern of concerted harassment against the former family. So maybe in your last remarks as you close the program, just include those remarks and that we haven't put to rest the late president. What are your views, especially maybe even from your cultural perspective, because you are a cultural icon on these matters?
Perspective, let me just say, maybe use a proverb and say, you don't fight over something that is not yours. Ichitumbi chavalungu techesu chavene elwavene ni lupwa. So you can't go and fight over something that is not yours and say, I must have a say over that thing and I will determine how things will happen. Techesu chavene. And I hope just that simple saying, you don't fight for something that is not yours. It's not yours. Leave the family. Even the South African law, is clear. First in line is the wife, emwine. Second, the children, evene. Third in line, the siblings, evene. And then the parents, evene. So I don't understand why we're fighting over something that is not ours. So let's not fight over something that is not ours. For me, my position on that is very clear. Secondly, I think can these laws, the cases be set aside while the mourning is going on? It seems not. I think there was a time when Mrs. Lungu was actually preparing to come because she was supposed to appear in court in the midst of all this. But I think maybe somebody had a better thought and they decided that she didn't have to come, and that was kind of laid to rest. But the cases are still there, and I'm supposing that if this is resolved in South Africa, all these things will be brought back, and the family will have to answer to the cases that are in the courts. This is where we are, and for some of these things, I think, especially on the aspect of the burial, I think just the humanity, our own humanity, should guide us when making judgments about those people, about what should happen to someone who has been now sitting in a mortuary for 8 months. Our humanity should guide us and saying, what is the fight about? I really don't see what the president will lose if he says go ahead and bury. I do not see what he will lose. In fact, he will gain. So that, I think, is my opinion on that one.
Thank you very much. No, I'd like to.
You want me to wind up?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for those thoughts, and I think that in itself is a punch of an answer. For me as a journalist, that's where even the biggest news is. Ladies and gentlemen, and colleagues, and citizens, we're hosting Mulenga Mpundu Kapwepwe. She's a poet, she's a writer, she's an author, she's a cultural activist, and we are releasing her now, but I can see the phone is buzzing, so I'll let her, she'll be listening. In case we need to call her back, we will call her, but let me take some more calls while I release Honorable Mulenga Kapwepwe. Nipa social media, abantu elo vaikala, nabepika varia, elo boacha. So I'll take a few calls, but Honorable Mulenga Kapwepwe, you are allowed to leave the studio. God bless you, and thank you very much. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Indeed.
I wouldn't let Mama Mulenga to go without listening to me.
No, she's listening.
Anyway, the only thing I want to say, I'm very much concerned, Mwamba, because I think there is a deliberate movement in our country, and it's so saddening here. My main worry, it's about our young people. Our young people who have resorted themselves to drugs because of having nothing to do, and also because there are so many who are frustrated in our country. Abantu ndebirira ino kulingana n'obwana tashi ubwandi n'obufyashi nangu bamama bamulenga kuti bawufa obukali bwa mwana so ino okulira kwandi mama nga mulengufwa kulira kw'abaana abalekula tukakitana bushani muno mu kyalo bantu abaana abalumendo nangu abali mu mayunivesity abengi kumulandu wakweva ati neryo bantu amayunivesity tebalekwata ekiro so bayitwere mu madrugs emo bayitwere ero baneranga okweva ati balipena bali abaana tabapena yo ero kuli amarehab ku Zambia nomba abenga kitafudi ku marehab ni banani olonanga balabenga abaana nga balire ku marehab bafuma bali abaana. They need to do something. If you're going to develop isha kwa ishta, they don't know nga bafuma rehab mbya. Tabakwete fyapishta kuna ndwako nga tabakwete nchito futi mabwerera mungu afya. So nomba ifi fimo file ukulone shapo sana. Tabana kukula. Ife na tukula ifo tuli bakulu nomba bana besu. Bulando bukulunga nshugu. Bulando bukulu. Elo na government. If we yapanga kwa marehab, aya government, aya kweba tibali abana bale onaika, bale batwala mudia. Elo nga bafuma mudia, kulikuwa maskimu babatwala ko, kubaya tutakwe fya carpentry, batako nafuma baba bweshisha munchito. Inecho ndeli lafye, chavana kukula, echo ndeli lafye. Pantubu fyashi, muka ni mama, chinchitumocho na achila fokulanda lindu. Kitimu alekela padi ine,
yeah, thank you very much. Is there anyone that wishes to call to Honorable Mlenga Kapwepwe? If you wish to call, I know I have a lot of callers that I missed because sometimes we have to be disciplined, especially when we have guests. But if you think that you needed to contribute anything, I can listen to you in the next 10 minutes, then we will close the program.
I think most of you are avoiding to talk about it. In soccer here, maybe we're not aware. It has been political. In political in such a way that it somehow belongs to certain individuals that are untouchable in soccer.
Can't you bring that in your closing remarks? You'll be given time to talk about it, because this time we're talking about questions.
I think it's important, sir, so that people are aware, they understand exactly what
You'll come to that. You'll come to that. Let's just follow the pace and flow of communication. I know that is a governing statement you want to bring.
I'm the one who's on.
But I'm the chair. I'm the chair.
Okay, callers, you are very lucky. Honorable Mlenga Kapwepwe is back in the studio. She will answer your quick questions. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Hello. Good evening. Mwamba. This is Don Oscar, and I'm calling from Italy.
Don Oscar from Italy. Please make your contributions.
Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate the contribution of Mama Kapwepwe. Indeed, I think it's a pleasure for our country to have such type of dedicated citizen, and for that matter, she's a mother. Thank you so much. I have only one question. I appreciate whatever she has said, and she has talked about the civil servant. She has talked about making professional civil services, and I think she's in the line with the president of Ghana. The president of Ghana, I think, also mentioned that in Africa, the weaknesses that we have is the president might be very civil servant and other situations, maybe they might be very weak. So I have only one question about Kapwepe. Maybe you have not directly touched this one, but I would like you, because I reckon you are indeed a wise mother, you are a wise woman. We need people like you to contribute in the affairs of politics in our country. My question, recently we have heard from different, I'm not going to mention the names here, from different stakeholders and from different government officials using the word imingalato. Now, I took some time yesterday to study deeply the meaning of this word imingalato. Coming from a football history, imingalato, when we had Kalusha Walia, when we had Lucky Musiska, Power Dynamos, and other dribblers, imingalato was used in a football circle as to dribble your opponent. You dribble the defender. So the striker would dribble the defender. And in a political language, Naralanda imingalato can mean lying, because the striker would lie the defender, saying he's going to the right, but he goes to the left. That was a football language, imingalato. Now, Bakapwepwe, you have been exposed. You are a writer. I've heard about this history. You are a writer, and you have been exposed to many countries, not only in our beloved country, Zambia. I reckon I'm also fortunate because I've been in all the 5 continents in the world. So I reckon I'm so fortunate. Now, my question is this. Whilst here in Europe, imingalato, or what I term to be lies, in Europe it's punishable with or immediate resignation, or you are fired by the leadership. What is your take in this trend in our government now? Since UPND took into power, we have seen this word is coming from time to time. We imingalato, we are going to use imingalato. We have used the imingalato. You as a wise woman and politician, what do you take about this word? Can we just leave it like this freely, or there is something we can do so that such type of a word cannot find accommodation in our political arena? Thank you so much, Mwamba. Thank you very much.
Let me take the last call. I saw an agent call as well. We use the opportunity that Honorable Mlenga Fube has given us an opportunity. Yeah, I think you can take those 2 calls, Honorable Mlenga.
About the drug problem, the substance abuse problem in this country was spot on. And these are some of the things that worry me, because I don't hear the strategy around how we're dealing with this issue. It's a big issue. You know, I wrote to, when Honorable Masebo was Minister of Health, I sent her even a text. I said, please, if there's anything the president can do, can he look at this problem of drugs and our young people? You know, I grew up at the time when Zambia was becoming a hub for drug trafficking. It was becoming a transit point for drugs that were going to South Africa, to Namibia, to wherever. It was becoming a serious transit point. What happened, which saved my generation, was that the government took that seriously. And if you remember, President Kaunda put together a commission, I think it was called the Chaiwela Commission, which said, what is the extent of this problem? Where is it? What are the age groups? Who is suffering from it? What do we do about it? all that scope was given to that commission. And he said, I want this commission of inquiry to find out the problem, the scope of this problem. I want this commission to come and advise me how we should deal with this problem. To tell you the truth, Emmanuel, without that action, without that commission, my generation would have been a wasted generation, because the
sorry, technical team, quickly just resolve that volume issue. Yeah, Honorable Mlenga Kapwepo, continue. I hope they've got it now.
Please tell the president to institute a commission of inquiry on the problem of substance abuse in this country. It has reached alarming proportions. If you read, I think the other day, there was a report that said 1,035 young people, teenagers, had been treated at Chainama for mental illness related to substance abuse. We are losing our children. And I feel what that caller was talking about. As parents, and because of that action by Kaunda, most of us don't even know how to deal with drugs. Drugs for our children, ourselves, we don't know. We didn't know, and we don't know, because we never faced it. That commission of inquiry that Kaunda instituted is what resulted in the Drug Enforcement Commission, the establishment of the Drug Enforcement Commission. Alongside the Drug Enforcement Commission were the rehabilitation centers. They were training from the trade side itself, the supply and demand side, officers were trained. From the rehabilitation what we need. This is what leadership is. When there's a problem, tackle it. And we have a problem. And I feel the pain of that woman who was talking about it, because there's literally no family that is not affected by this problem now. And as she said, the rehabilitation centers, which there is no even law to guide how those are established, how they are run, who runs them, but it's just a response to need. Even those are not coping as much as they're trying to do something. They are very expensive. Most families can't afford them. We are going to lose generations of children in this country if we're not going to respond to that problem. And it's a big problem, and we must not hide away from it, because the statistics are beginning to show. I think the headlines yesterday was Kitwe. There was a huge population of people with mental illnesses. Most of these are because of substance abuse. So can we please do something about it? And these are some of the things that, for me, any government that is coming into power must address this problem, because we'll lose generations. So I feel the pain of any parent and every parent, because anything to do with substance abuse is something that's literally parents cannot handle by themselves. There are interventions that must be introduced at the national level, at the government level, that must help the society deal with that scourge.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Technical team, just resolve the issue of volume. Maybe, I don't know whether maybe the batteries, but let me use the opportunity to. Hello, caller, please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
Oh, my name is Kelvin. I'm calling from US.
Kelvin, make your contribution. We have Honorable Mlenga Kapwepo before she leaves.
Yeah, first I want to greet our mother. She's tackling issues very well.
Continue.
If you want to mayo, Kankala san. Hello, my name is Kelvin.
Kelvin, you are on. Don't listen to your feedback. Just proceed. You are live.
My contribution or my question is, I've heard she's talking about the PS, they are the people who are in charge of the ministries, they are not politicians. But we are looking at the situation that we are in our country, where a PS can come, even talking about Tete Muine Imwe, Mwabashani. How can you deal with such kind of people? Because, you know, it surprises us. Yes. So, is about the PS. The PS is the people who are in charge of the ministries and other things. But we are looking at the situation that we are right now, where a PS can come behaving like a politician, can even say things like mocking other people, talking about winning and other things. What is the advice for those such kind of PS, or what advice can you give to the president to such kind of people? Thank you.
Thank you. Now this is the last caller. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from. Hello, caller. You've muted. Hello, caller. So, I'm glad that you came back for the issue of drug abuse, and you are so passionate about it. I also feel that we are losing a youthful generation. An entire youth is being lost to the extent of the drug abuse. Just take these two last callers and please answer. Then we can let you go. Thank you, Honorable Mlenga Kapwepwe.
On the Mingalato. And he's very correct. In Mingalato, I know that the minister tried to clarify that, no, we're not talking about rigging, we're just talking about Mingalato, whatever that means. The caller is right. Mingalato is to dribble. And it's not to dribble by honest means, it's to dribble by deception. So what was the minister saying? And that, for me, it's very reckless. It's a very reckless way to use this word, especially in these times when we're going towards the elections. And in the context of elections, it's a really unfortunate term to use at this time. And I think it was very reckless for the minister to actually use that word. It will come to haunt him, I think, later. The PS, yes, I think I dwelt on this. The PS is a professional civil servant. They're supposed to be professional civil servants. They're not supposed to be party cadres. They are not supposed to comment on party issues, political issues. No, these are professionals who are running the state. They're helping government to run it. But as I said before, we don't know who's government, who's the state, who's what. Everything is now just mixed up. A PS can actually come and make a political pronouncement unheard of in the past, unheard of. A PS could not comment on anything apart from his portfolio and what he was doing in that ministry. But he could not start making those kind of comments that we are now hearing, and proudly so, we're being told, so what do you expect me to say? I'm a cadre, but I'm a PS. How? We have ruined our civil service. And I hope the next government has a plan to professionalize the civil service. The Zambians will see the difference. They will see the difference immediately when they have a professional civil servants running their affairs of the state. I think I can end with that.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you for being so gracious that you came back. The power of this program is the callers. The callers make the program. So I bother to take their calls, and thank you very much, Honorable Mlenga Kapwepwe, and thank you for your contributions. Will be now closing. We have another special guest, I think on Thursday. We'll let you know. Hello, caller. Please tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
My name is David.
Yes, David.
Just a follow-up on an issue of Imingalato.
Mm-hmm.
This issue, it's not only the PS who mentioned Imingalato. Remember on Bill 7, what the president said in Choma.
Yes.
The president said he dribbled. That pronouncement from the president is just an hurdle. So then we are thinking Bill 7 is a dribbled bill. It's not something that came from the people. So I don't know the comment about the president's comment on the Bill 7. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think she put it very clearly that Imingalato is deception and it should not be allowed. And whoever is engaged in deception, she says we should worry because we are going to elections. That means we'll have deceptive outcome of elections. She's very clear. So to our dear viewers, thank you very much for your contributions. We are hosting Mulenga Kapwepwe. God bless you. Until we have another guest tomorrow, we will let you know what we'll be discussing. Thank you very much to Mulenga Kapwepwe and for that fantastic contribution that you made during your appearance on this program.
I think most of you are avoiding to talk about it. In Isoka here, maybe we're not aware. It has been political. In political in such a way that it somehow belongs to certain individuals that are untouchable in Isoka.
Can't you bring that in your closing remarks? You'll be given time to talk about it because this time we're talking about questions.
I think it's important, sir, so that people are aware, they understand exactly.
You'll come to that. Let's just follow the pace and flow of communication. I know that is a governing statement you want to bring.
I'm the one who's on.
But I'm the chair. I'm the chair.
I'm trying to respond.
Please sit down. I'm saying I'm a chair. There is no question that has directly come to me.
It's not. I'm not answering any questions, sir.
Yeah, but why are you addressing us? Because it's only who should address you. Unless you are given time to speak.
I'm bringing something on the floor.
Are we arguing? Are we arguing?
No.
Sit down. Sit down, sir. No problem. You'll lose
Sir,
nothing.
You've been coming here, people are raising questions of stolen fertilizer.
No, they haven't. No one has raised that
No,
question.
you came. Previously, you were in Isoka here. Placards were being raised. They are being raised that is this
we
year
are going
stolen
to we are
fertilizer.
going to confuse everything there. If at all you want to declare interest, leave and be there. I want to interact with these people. I don't want any confusion.
Can this interaction also be known to the people as well? Because these are the people that are bringing
way,
up these issues.
see what it is, DC. When you know that in this kind of arrangement, people they are there, in leadership, we declare interest. Because I'm the senior leader addressing this matter, I cannot appreciate people to be addressed in that way.
I feel in Isoka, the district commissioner are not protected. I feel I'm being belittled.
We should not be debating before this. Let's do this. Let's do this.
I've been appointed to be in the office
Let's do
on
this,
behalf of the president.
Let's do this, DC. If you can maybe take a seat. We are all appointed by the president. Myself, I'm moving sworn in by the president.
Why should I have such kind of disrespect that I'm able to see?
No, the people are wrong. We are going to speak to that if at all. Anyone who is accusing the DC?
Sir, you came, they were raising placards that this is stolen fertilizer. You saw even those people.
But you'd have addressed that issue.
These
Myself,
issues are
I've
there.
come at a different platform. This is a different platform and instruction. You would have sorted out this matter with your people earlier before I came.
So they have been raising these issues to you. I even saw them the other day, they were at your office there. The very people that are coming that are disturbing us.
No, the agenda was
here.
not about you. It was a different
No,
agenda.
the very people that are complaining, they are wrong people. That's the issue that I'm raising here.
But I feel disrespected with that kind of conduct. I feel disrespected.
Sir, I'm equally so much disrespected here. You don't know how I feel with what is happening here.
Sure. I'm very sorry.
You have got no idea the way I feel with what is happening in Isoka here. When
very
I'm fighting,
sorry.
I'm on radio every Friday telling people I've made a committee with a cooperative.
Let me tell you
that are handling
this.
These issues of sharing.
If you can just sit down. If you can just sit down. DC, there is a forensic report.
We want change. We want change. We want change. We want change. We want a change.
The sound magician. Wi-Fi on the beat, boy.
Twakupele voting atawabomba voti ngata wabomba tawali mone voti ngata wabomba pantuno mwaka kuya bebele twanakanемwe mwachira mobufi kuya bebele akwabonele numa kuya bebele mwachira mobufi mwalitula ile ona lebwati mukesa tupangira kwemisebo twali mipele ne voti ati mukesa tupangira kwemisebo nimwewo mwatile mukesa tukulira nechipatala ifwe nimwewo mwatile mukesa tukulira na masukulu kuno ukutula potwa misalila ifwe mwalitula baona lebo imisebwala yajonaika ichipatala takwaba kuno abana besu basambilila mufimuti fya mango bana mayo mapapira mungande chipatala takwaba kuno imisepila chose malofwa bapepa byebange famalelilo mufunda tawafika nembuto tashafika ukutula potwa misalila ifwe mwalitula baona lebo nombalelo mwabwela imwe mulefwa yatumivotele tatwakupele voti ngata wabomba tatwakupele voti ngata wabomba tawali mone voti ngata wabomba tawali mone voti ngata wabomba pantuno mwaka kuya bebele twanakanемwe mwachira mobufi kuya bebele akwabonele numa kuya bebele mwachira mobufi uno mwaka tulefwa yabakutubombera nota bakwisa kuno mukuzembereka mukutwibira mano nga twabavotera abaya nangu mwatupele ndalama tulepo katatwa mivotele nidonti kubeba wapoka walya nidonti kubeba wapoka walya ababina chimwe na mwekole uko bafuma balilaba bayi kutapiza balaboko bafuma bayi kutapai balabati bakabwela balya chikinine na mabanu inapana kaso wala ona lebo mulabeja ukutula potwa misalila ifwe